It is the Patrick Netherton Show. 11:30, The Tiger. He's Roger Sampton. I'm Patrick Netherton. We are pleased to welcome in one of our favorites, the head coach of the G-Men and a G-Man himself, Broderick Fobbs, joins us now. The week of the Bayou Classic. Grambling has been dealing with some COVID issues, hasn't been able to play the last couple of weeks, but hoping to get it lined up and going this weekend for one of the biggest games in all of college football, the Bayou Classic, which is being played here in Shreveport this year at Independence Stadium. We're very much looking forward to hosting the G-Men and the Jags. And Coach Fobbs, let's start there, I guess. Had to kind of cancel a couple of games. COVID crept up and got into the program. Give us an idea as we sit here on Tuesday afternoon, where are your guys at and where do you feel like your team is regards to being ready to go for Saturday?
Well, I tell you, it's really, really tough, as is it's tough for everybody at this particular time. The thing that's been crazy is, we tested on yesterday, and we had a couple of positive tests, but then we were able to get some guys back off quarantine too. So you lose 3 or 4 and you gain, 2 or 3. So we're kind of in the same boat. It's just one of those situations, like you said, Pat, once it gets in, it's kind of hard to get it out because it kind of starts making its way around your entire football team. So we're working. Of course, we're playing a lot of people who have not played football before, this season for us, but at the end of the day, if you got 58 players, you have to play. So we're focused on developing a plan and trying to keep it simple and make sure that we get the ball in our playmakers' hands with everything that we got going on.
We've talked a lot to a lot of different coaches this year about the idea that as a coach, you aren't just an X's and O's guy. You're not just a guy on the field. You're oftentimes a parent. Sometimes you have to be a disciplinarian. Sometimes you have to be a friend to these kids. I mean, a willing ear. What is, when you add nurse / medical assistant to the thing, what has this been like, Fobbs? This has just been one of the most insane things that I can ever remember in college football and in sports in general. What's this been like for you?
Well, it's actually one of the more nerve-wracking things that you'll ever experience because you can't control it. Anything that you can't control or is out of your control, you're so nervous about it. So every time, you leave practice and you send your kids off and they go back on campus with the general population, you're saying to yourself, please, guys, just don't do anything. Stay in your room, eat your food, and come back to work again the next day. But you just have no control over, kids leaving, going to the store, going to the grocery store, seeing somebody on campus. It's just extremely tough. And then every time you test, which we're testing 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, you're just on pins and needles because you're hoping that you don't have any positive tests.
It is wild that at this point, the most nervous you can get is while waiting for those 15 minutes for a rapid antigen test to come back and tell you that a guy is cleared. Fobbs, you were a college student once. I was a college student once. I've got to imagine no matter how much you talk to them and how much you tell them to be responsible, it's got to be exceptionally difficult for a college kid. It's a beautiful spring day. You want to get out and see your friends. Maybe you want to go visit your family. They haven't had games the last couple of weekends. I got to imagine it's been incredibly tough for those kids to try to stay quarantined, to try to stay sort of on the right path when there's so much temptation out there.
Well, it's really tough. College campus is full of temptation, and and our campus is no different. With our kids, and it is tough. And then you have the added mentality of thinking that you're invincible as a young man. Like you can dodge this thing, or you won't get it. So it's really, really tough. We're constantly beating it in our kids' brains. To keep your mask on, stay out of harm's way. If you go to the mall, make sure if you go to the store or something, make sure that you wash your hands before you take your mask off when you get in your car. and we just talk about all of those things that's important, because, at the end of the day, you're one positive test away from losing an entire meeting room or an entire side of the ball if you're meeting with an entire defense or an entire offense, and that's what's tough about it is, you can have one positive test, and if that one kid is in the meeting room with 15 other, defensive backs, then all of a sudden your entire secondary is gone. They're in quarantine. So that's been the toughest thing is trying to continue to meet, trying to continue to play football, and trying to build a team concept without being around each other like you're supposed to. And that's challenging as it is.
Talking to Broderick Fobbs, the head coach of the Grambling Tigers, as they get set to take on Southern in the Bayou Classic up here in Shreveport. Fobbs, you stepped into a tough situation to begin with. You came back to your alma mater. Obviously, we knew the protests that happened several years ago and the weight room and all the facilities and all that, and you've had to work through that. And you've had some really good times. You've had a couple of double-digit win seasons. And it seemed like everything was kind of settling in for you. You were kind of getting into that sort of year-in grind of being a coach, and then this pops up. Was there a moment where you just kind of sat back and go, man, can we just have a year where something bad doesn't happen?
Absolutely. And that's something that we talk about all the time as coaches is, we just need something to go well for us. We were bit with the injury bug in 2019. And then, we come back in 20 and we're excited about our team. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and things go haywire and, and kids are all over the place and things of that nature. So it's a tough situation to be in. But, like I said, it's no excuses. Everyone's in the same situation. We just happen to get hit with it. Other programs are kind of fortunate in the fact that they're not hit with it as tough as we are. But, there are others that have had to sit out games and not be ready to play, this season. So we're just trying to cross our fingers and trying to get to Wednesday and without any positive tests and get through Wednesday. And if we can get through Friday without any positive tests, then I think we'll be good to go on Saturday.
It's interesting in talking with, Brad Laird, who I work with every week at Northwestern, very well, having a spring season, and you've played 3 games and had to have a couple canceled, but having a spring season, Fobbs, is really maybe the best evaluation in spring that you'll ever get. You're probably never going to get this again, where you can go line up against another team running different schemes that you have to react to, just from a pure being ready to go into the fall season. This has got to have been a great blessing for y'all and for all the coaches who don't have to practice against each other. You're not looking at a spring game. This has been all other opponents on the other side of the field. I've got to imagine, just from an evaluation standpoint and getting your guys ready for the fall, this has to have been really fantastic.
Well, it's a lot of positives in it, but then there's also a couple of negatives in it. Of course, like you were saying, Pat, having the opportunity to play everyone and play even your young kids and it not to count against them as far as the year is concerned, that is a positive. But then it also allows you to see what you have. It allows you to see your kids operate in a game type situation. The negatives are we haven't had an off-season program.
Right.
That's the tough part. The fact that, we have freshmen here who have been here, for a year, and we haven't had a really good 8-week off-season program in order to build up their bodies and give them what they need physically, as well as, nutrition-wise, in order for them to be better football players. So the problem with that is you're going to play 2 seasons without having an off-season, and we won't have another off-season until next spring. So we're basically just crossing our fingers and trying to stay away from the injury bug as much as we possibly can and keep guys healthy, so that we can go into the fall and really, really have a good season this fall and then have a good off season next spring when things get back to normal.
I'm curious, one of the things that the coaches at NSU talk about a lot is, spring is when they would have a chance to go watch their kids play, games, that kind of thing, family time.
Right.
Usually right after the spring season, everyone's heading to vacation, that sort of thing. What sacrifices have you had to make in terms of your family with having this spring season going on?
Man, I tell you, that's a great question, Pat. It's been really, really tough, because my oldest daughter is a volleyball player and my youngest girl is a softball player, and we're all over the place chasing this ball, and my daughters are used to me, taking the springtime to really spend time with them, on the courts, and then also with the softball bats and things of that nature, making sure that they're ready to go. And and my wife is kind of sending me videos now of games and things of that nature while we're playing at the same time in tournaments. But the good thing about it is, we had a couple of weeks in there where we weren't playing, where I was able to kind of get to some of those games. But it's been really, really tough. I'm probably not going to be able to take a vacation, this summer, because of that. Because it's such a quick turnaround. And basically, we got 8 or 9 weeks before we back in this thing for training camp again. So we got to make sure that we're going through OTAs. We got to make sure that our kids are eating properly and that they're lifting weights and conditioning properly. And then also get our additions to our program in here and get them good to go with summer school and things of that nature. So this is going to be a big summer for us, and it's going to be a very busy summer for us in order for us to be the type of team that I think we have a chance to be.
Talking to Broderick Fobbs, head coach of the Grambling Tigers. All right, tell me about this Bayou Classic, about this Southern team. They have looked good so far. We saw them on national TV take care of Jackson State and Coach Prime. Give me a little indication of what this Jag team looks like.
Well, I mean, they're a well-coached team. Coach Dawson Odoms does an exceptional job. He's always done an exceptional job, and he's won 7 or 8 ball games every year, if not more. And that's the mark of a really good football coach and a really good program. Very big team, very physical team. They want to stuff the ball down your throat. And then defensively, they want to smother you with their pressure and force you to make mistakes. So, we have to make sure that we can move the football and score points. But then also we have to take care of their running game and force them to throw the football because that's not what they want to do. Now, they will bring the second-string quarterback in from time to time, and throw the ball a little bit more with him. But mainly, they want to run the football, and their quarterback is athletic. He wants to run the football. And then they got 2 or 3 really big, strong tailbacks that run the football really well also.
Okay, so I mentioned Deion Sanders at Jackson State, and we just heard Eddie George being named the head coach at Tennessee State. And, Fobbs, we've long sort of lamented the kind of back seat that the HBCUs have sort of been forced into the last probably decade to 15 years. It used to be, when your mentor Eddie Robinson was there, Grambling got the best players and they sent everyone to the NFL. And it seems like the HBCUs have sort of been pushed aside a good bit. But now with names like Eddie George and Deion Sanders making their way into the HBCUs, I've got to imagine at some point, yes, you've got to face these guys and you don't want them to have that much success, especially against you. But what does it say for the HBCUs that we're starting to see some of this quote unquote star power? Because you've always had great coaches. There's always been very solid coaches, but to have these kind of big names like this step in, what does that say for maybe the level that we're seeing the HBCUs get to and maybe rise to now?
Well, I think it does help. I think it does help to have those big name guys come into our league. But I think more it speaks to, the opportunities that's available, for men that look like me. The mere fact that, those opportunities, they have to come to HBCUs to get those opportunities. These conferences provide the platform, for so many people to get those chances. Because, it's just not being done at so many other, institutions. And I've been asked on several occasions, are HBCUs still needed? Are they relevant? And they can't be more relevant now than ever before because, the mere fact that it's more to it than just a college athlete that's playing on the field, which a lot of African Americans are playing all over the place, in FBS programs and FCS programs, worldwide. But the thing is what about the guy that wants to be a compliance director? What about the guy that wants to be an athletic director? What about the guy that wants to be a marketing director?
What about the hey Fobbs? What about the lady who wants to be vice president?
Exactly. So there's a lot of opportunities that are still available to us at these universities that still we don't get more times than not at other universities. So they are relevant, and they still provide platforms, just like they're doing for Coach Eddie George and Coach Deion Sanders. It's opportunities, and all you can ask for is an opportunity. If this thing started a long time ago with the athlete, and the only opportunity was an HBCU platform, and that platform opened up the doors for the AFL and eventually the NFL, and then all of a sudden the NCAA. So I think it always starts at HBCUs, and that's just the way it has to be until those floodgates open and everyone can kind of go where they need to and get equal opportunities to coach, perform, and do whatever jobs that they would like to do.
Well said, Fobbs. Love you to death, brother. Best of luck this weekend. Thank you so much for your time today, and may stay positive, test negative, my friend.
Thank you, man. Good to talk with you, Pat.
All right, Broderick Fobbs, head coach of the Grambling Tigers.